Now, Harvey, in Batman 3, what does he want? He wants Batman, specifically. He's not out to make himself $1 billion with robbery and so forth. He may do some of that, but only to fund his quest to get Batman. That was the deal, the flipping the coins at the end of number 2, in my opinion. I'm Judge Innocent, Gordon's Judge Innocent, Batman is guilty. To find Batman, and jumping ahead of a little, but he takes control of at least part of the criminal world, and then he has enough cruelty to do that, and enough smarts, and he was a DA. He has some idea how crime works. He's viewed it from the other side. He knows how to avoid the authorities that way too. I wonder who the new DA is, by the way, and whether that guy survives very long, or whether the spot is just vacated for a while. And such. So he's trying to find Batman. He takes control of part of the criminal world. Oh, and I was saying earlier, I was talking about how he was so crazed at the end of Batman 2. He's so confused. So he's still messed up, but he's a little more control enough to give orders, manage organization and so forth. But the bits to him, like you can see him cry once in a while, at things. He's looking for Batman, though. He's looking for, that's it, Reese was the name of the guy who knows Batman's name, and that's interesting because he would be Mr. Reese. Mr. Reese. Mysteries. Like the Riddler. Except, we're doing an entirely different thing than you'd ever thought of the Riddler, which in fact you may not even call him the Riddler. Because, by the way, the Riddler is actually Mr. Enigma. Nevertheless, Mysteries is a Riddler-type name. And perhaps Riddler is like the code name they have for this guy. And they're looking for him. Harvey Dent's looking for him to find out who Batman is so we can kill Batman. It would make it easier anyway to know who Batman is in order to kill him. And Harley Quinn would also like to find out who this guy is and find out who Batman is and kill him and cause more chaos and so forth. Or just taunt him, And by the way, Batman Bruce Wayne thing, he is arranging for Mr. Reese to have protection. So his own personal witness protection program thing. Or he tries to do that anyway. Eventually that breaks down. All these details, all these things. So I was saying, Two-Face has got a huge chunk of the criminal underworld, and Harley Quinn's got like the other chunk. There's the businessman type guys, criminals who end up a little more under Harvey Dent, who is not interested in the business thing, but he's willing to satisfy the business-like interests in order to get their cooperation to kill Batman. And then Harley Quinn has the more fanatical side, the cult side, the chaos for its own sake side. And the two of them end up with some sort of partnership. They've got all of Gotham's crime under their umbrella. And you might even have cameos sort of other villains, one guy is Black Mask, for instance, and one guy is. But don't overdo that because we don't have time to introduce all these random people, and they don't matter as much to the story. Details. Someone has to say this to Bruce Wayne at some point. Maybe Bruce Wayne's taken hostage, which is a classic Batman thing sometimes. Bruce Wayne is taken hostage, and then of course he's Batman. He finds a way to get out and then get into his Batman suit and then beat the crap out of people. But in the meantime, imagine Bruce Wayne taken hostage. And there's some Joker cult members with guns, whatever, blah blah blah. Imagine them using more paint, by the way. They're Joker guys with solid plastic masks or whatever they're made of in Batman 2. I imagine that people are adopting paint now, more like the Joker. And Bruce Wayne asks one of these people, why they do what they do, I guess, or don't you know the Joker's been locked up? Something along those lines. And this guy recites back to Bruce what Bruce came up with This guy is not. He's like accidentally using similar phrases. But he says of the Joker that as a man, he is flesh and blood. This is a Joker cult member talking of the Joker. As a man, he is flesh and blood. He can be destroyed or locked up. But as a symbol, he is elemental. As a symbol, he is everlasting. Something like that. The notion that on some fundamental level, the Joker from freaking jail is playing Batman's game. And Joker, by the way, is not even coordinating this. Batman has locked him down so good that Joker doesn't even he's not even sending out messages or something. He's not part of any plot. Just on this absolute notion of an ideal, a dark ideal in this case. He still exists, he still inspires others, and so forth and so forth. As a symbol. That's what Batman, so Bruce was saying in Batman 1. I can be elemental, I can be everlasting. And so forth and so forth. Guy uses not the exact same words, but similar words. And this is sort of a creepy moment for Bruce. Like, what the frick am I dealing with here? This, and there's a bunch of these Joker people. And as Batman, so he keeps dealing with them, but stuff gets harder, gets worse. Meantime, Gordon is supposed to be, chasing after Batman. There's various elements. With Rachel. At some point, they get their hands on Mr. Reese. They get Batman's identity, perhaps by torture or something. And he probably ends up dead, too. Bruce Wayne. I suppose I should get around to this. In the third movie, Batman must die. This works so well. It's the only context wherein he ever can die. He's normally in comic books. You can't die in comic books. You just die and come back. But here, at the end of a trilogy, at the end of Christian Bale's contract, at the end of, he should die. And it would be like, oh frick, it would be like sort of, it would have depth to it, it would have meaning. Like he's not coming back within Christopher Nolan movies. Before Batman dies, though, Bruce Wayne dies. That is to say, people believe him to be dead. Could imagine that. Maybe, I don't know. They find out his identity and so forth, and blah, 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 and then they blow up his house or something. We did blow up the house of Batman once. Maybe they blow up his car. Something around him gets blown up. And Bruce Wayne is presumed dead. And, of course, Batman could show up and be like, no, I'm not dead. But decides at this point just to devote himself to full-time Batmaning. Batmaning, is that a verb? Because Gotham is dying here. I can imagine Gotham becoming like a war zone. That like Harley Quinn herself can only, it's at one point it can walk out into the street in daylight in full makeup. And not worry about like cops arresting herself because around her, there's all these random people causing chaos and Joker cult members with like guns and the other non-cult members but still criminals that are doing systematic looting and murder and mayhem and war zone.